The phone trembled in my hand, its screen spiderwebbed with cracks from where I'd squeezed it too hard. Again. 12 missed calls. 12 voicemails left to rot in the void between us. Karen's voice, once a balm for every childhood scrape, now felt like a ghost haunting the silence. I needed her to see it. To taste the rot festering in her perfect little world the way I had when I walked in on them, him, Jay, limbs tangled in the dim light of Jay's apartment. The memory clawed up my throat, sour and searing. I doubled over in the driver's seat, dry heaving into the parking lot gravel until my ribs ached. It was supposed to be a surprise. Jay's 30th birthday. I'd saved for months to rent a lakeside cabin, but she'd begged off last minute, food poisoning. She'd texted, "So sorry, darling." I'd driven to her apartment anyway, a peace offering of ginger ale and saltines in hand. The door was unlocked. Their voices carried from the bedroom, low and liquid. Robert's laugh, warm, familiar, the sound that narrated my childhood, curled around Jay's breathless giggle. The one she reserved for me when we slow danced in the kitchen. My keys fell from numb fingers. The room reeked of bourbon and gardenias, Jay's shampoo. The bed was a tangle of sheets, her red lace bra dangling from the lamp like a sick joke. Robert's hand, the one that taught me to ride a bike, gripped her hip. Her back arched into him, the curve of her spine lit by the glow of my childhood nightlight, still plugged in by the dresser. "Love you," he murmured, voice thick. "More than she does," Jay whispered back. Her eyes met mine in the reflection of the mirror. No shame. Just a flicker of defiance before she pulled him closer. The world tilted. I stumbled back, the ginger ale exploding against the wall as I fled. "You're stronger than this," I hissed at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Mascara streaked like war paint. Karen's house loomed ahead, its porch light a sickly yellow beacon. I'd rehearsed the words 100 times, Karen, Robert's cheating. With Jay. Your husband. My fiancé. But the script dissolved the second she wrenched open the door, her face already contorted into a snarl. "You monster," she spat, the words like glass shards. "How could you hurt him? After everything he's done for you?" The audacity of it, the lies, lit a fuse in my veins. Hurt him? I walked in on them. Us. Your perfect family is a fucking sham. My voice cracked, raw and ragged, as I thrust my phone at her. The video played before she could protest, Robert's laugh, low and familiar. Jay's giggle, the one that used to melt into my shoulder at night. The way their shadows merged on the wall like a sick parody of us. The video wasn't the only proof. I'd found receipts for the hotel they'd used before the lakeside incident, weeks' worth of lies. A crumpled condom wrapper in Robert's truck. Jay's texts to him, saved in a secret folder on my cloud drive, "Can't wait to taste you again." But the worst was the birthday card I'd bought Jay, still tucked in her nightstand. Inside, had scrawled, "To the love of my life. Let's make this official." Karen watched, her hand clamped over her mouth. When the screen went dark, she didn't blink. Didn't breathe. For a heartbeat, we were frozen in the truth, a mirror of the horror I'd felt that night. Then her eyes hardened, sharper than any blade. "Get out," she whispered. "If you're lying, if you've ruined this family over some jealous fantasy." Ruined? I laughed, the sound unhinged. "You're choosing him? After this?" I shook my head, tears scalding my cheeks. "Fine. But when the dust settles, don't come crying to me. You're just as guilty as they are." Back at the apartment, I packed Jay's things with violent precision. Her favorite mug, the one Robert bought her, world's best girlfriend, etched in gold, shattered in the sink. I left the pieces there. Let her cut herself on the shards when she came for the rest. The engine roared to life, gravel spitting beneath the tires as I peeled out of the apartment complex. The rearview mirror framed the shattered remnants of the mug in the kitchen window, glinting like a malevolent grin. My hands shook on the wheel, the leather creaking under my grip. Drive. Just drive. The highway unfurled ahead, a black ribbon under a starless sky. I flicked on the radio, static hissing until a haunting melody cut through, Jay's favorite song. Of course. I slammed my palm against the dashboard, the screen cracking further. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same road that once led to weekend getaways with Robert now felt like a runway to oblivion. "You're my best girl," Robert had said last summer, his arms slung over my shoulders as we grilled burgers. Jay laughed, flipping a veggie patty, her smile warm. "No take-backs," she'd teased, handing me a soda. The three of us, a perfect triad, or so I'd thought. Now, the memory curdled in my mind like spoiled milk. My phone buzzed violently in the cup holder. Karen. Again. I let it scream into voicemail. The next call would be Robert, his voice oozing faux concern. Or maybe Jay. The thought made me veer into the shoulder, gravel crunching as I lurched to a stop. I grabbed the birthday card from the passenger seat. "To the love of my life." The words blurred as tears pooled. A sob tore through me, raw and animal. How many times had I replayed their whispers? More than she does. A semi blared past, shaking the car. I flung the card into the back seat, where it landed among Jay's scattered belongings, a scarf, a novel we'd read together, the necklace Robert gave her for Christmas. Evidence. All of it. The next morning, I stood at Robert's office door, the cloud drive folder open on my phone. His secretary eyed me warily. "He's in a meeting." "I'll wait." When he emerged, his smile faltered. "Sweetheart? What's wrong?" "Wrong?" I laughed, the sound jagged. "You tell me. Is it wrong that your girlfriend's texts are saved in your truck? Or that your wife still doesn't know?" His face paled. "Who?" "Me." I thrust the phone at him, the video cued. Jay's giggle filled the sterile hallway. His knees buckled against the desk. You had no right," he stammered, but the fight had drained from him. "No right? You had no right to her. To us." I stepped closer, venom in every syllable. "You think Karen won't believe me? Wait until she sees the hotel receipts. The condom wrapper. The... Stop." He gripped my wrist, his touch a ghost of the father who'd bandaged my skinned knees. "Please. Let me explain." "There's nothing to explain." I wrenched free. "You're just like her. Both of you, rotten to the core." I left him there, the video still looping. By nightfall, the texts began, Karen, pleading. Jay, defensive. Robert, desperate. I deleted them all, the screen dimming as the truth festered. At home, I packed a suitcase, the world's best girlfriend mug shards tucked in a Ziploc. A keepsake. The porch light still burned at Karen's house, a sickly sentinel. I didn't look back. The highway called again, this time leading west. Where the road ended, maybe I'd find a new beginning, or at least, a way to unsee the rot. But first, I'd send the folder to Karen. Let her choke on the truth. The beginning, I thought, as the sun bled gold over the horizon. Of the end. The highway stretched endless, a serpentine ribbon under a sky bruised purple with twilight. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as the radio droned a static-laced country ballad. "And I'll love you forever, my darling," I snapped it off. Every song felt like a taunt, a reminder of Jay's voice humming the same tune while she traced shapes on my palm during late-night drives. I'd been driving for hours, maybe days. Time blurred like the roadside diners and flickering motel signs. The glove compartment held a half-empty bottle of bourbon, Robert's brand, and a map dotted with red X's marking towns I'd never heard of. New beginnings, I'd scribbled on the margins. The lie tasted bitter. My phone buzzed again. Karen's name flashed, relentless. I didn't answer. Instead, I pressed harder on the gas, the engine roaring as if it could outrun the memories. The cloud drive folder burned in my pocket, its weight a physical thing. Send it, a voice hissed. Let her see. But I hesitated. Sending the folder would cement the truth, turn the fissure in Karen's perfect world into a chasm. Part of me still clung to the hope she'd come after me, that this was all a nightmare. The other part, the part that had watched Jay arch into Robert's touch, knew better. A storm rolled in by Amarillo. Rain lashed the windshield, distorting the road into a watery mirage. I pulled over at a gas station, its neon sign flickering vacancy in jagged red letters. Inside, the clerk barely glanced up as I bought a burner phone and a pack of cigarettes. I hadn't smoked since college, but the craving felt primal, a substitute for the scream lodged in my throat. The first drag burned. I coughed, leaning against the car as I dialed Karen's number. It rang once. Twice. Where are you? Her voice was raw, frayed. Not angry anymore. Terrified. Does it matter? I exhaled smoke into the rain. Did you watch the videos? A beat. Then, a fractured whisper, he says you're lying. That you've been, unstable. That you. Unstable? I laughed, sharp and metallic. You think I hallucinated the condom wrapper in his truck? The texts? I don't know what to think. She erupted, sudden and violent. Do you have any idea what you've done? He's leaving me. Robert's leaving, and it's your fault. The accusation hung between us, heavier than the storm clouds. I crushed the cigarette under my heel. No, Karen. It's his fault. And hers. Silence. Then, softer, she's gone. Jay. She packed her things, said she couldn't stay here, not after. Not after you chose him. I didn't choose. You did. I hung up, trembling. The phone slipped from my hand, shattering on the asphalt. Oklahoma City. A motel room with peeling wallpaper and a Bible on the nightstand. I flipped through it absently, landing on Psalm 34, "The Lord is close to the broken-hearted." I slammed it shut. The folder taunted me from the bedside table. I opened it, scrolling through Jay's texts again. Can't wait to taste you again. She'll never love you like I do. Robert's replies were worse, clinical, detached. Be careful. She's suspicious. A knock at the door. My heart seized. Robert? Jay? I peered through the peephole. A stranger stood there, rain-soaked and shivering, a girl, barely 20, with a backpack and a split lip. Help, she mouthed, holding up a wad of cash. I just need a room for the night. I hesitated. Then, against every instinct, I opened the door. Her name was Mara. She smelled of diesel and desperation. Running from my ex, she said, lighting a cigarette. He's got friends in Tulsa. I'm heading to Flagstaff. We sat on the floor, passing the bottle of bourbon. She told me about the bruises he'd left on her ribs, the apologies scrawled on hotel stationery. I told her about Jay's red lace bra, the way Robert's laugh had echoed in that damned bedroom. You should have burned the house down, Mara said, matter of fact. Sometimes the only way to kill a thing is to burn the ground it stands on. I thought of Karen's trembling voice. You've ruined this family. Maybe I should have, I whispered. Mara studied me, her eyes sharp. You still can. I sent it at dawn. Karen's reply came an hour later, I'm so sorry. 3 words. Not enough. Not nearly. The news alerts popped up by noon. Local businessman Robert Heller files for divorce amid scandal. The article cited irreconcilable differences. No mention of of me. Just a sanitized lie. I threw the burner phone against the wall. It shattered, its screen cracking like a spiderweb. Arizona swallowed me whole. The landscape turned alien, red rocks and cacti, skies so vast they made me feel microscopic. I traded the car for a pickup truck in Phoenix, paid in cash. The driver, a retired trucker named Hank, warned me about the heat. "'S like a furnace out there," he said, nodding at the horizon. "But the desert don't forgive. Neither does the truth." I drove until the road vanished, until the only sound was the wind howling through the cab. I parked, stepped into the sand, and opened the ziplock of mug shards. They glittered malevolently in the sun. "Burn the ground," Mara had said. I scattered the pieces, let the desert claim them. The call. It was Jay. "I know what you did," she said. "No hello. No pretense." I leaned against the truck, the sun scorching my neck. "What?" Finally told Karen the truth. A hollow laugh. "She's not answering her phone. Not that it matters. Robert's gone. You got what you wanted." "Wanted?" My voice cracked. "I wanted you to look at me the way you looked at him. Like I was enough." Another silence. Then, softer, "You were never enough." The line went dead. I screamed into the void, a sound that echoed off the cliffs and dissolved into nothing. Flagstaff at dusk. I found Mara at a dive bar, nursing a whiskey. She didn't ask why I'd come. Just slid a shot toward me and said, "Burn the ground." We drove north, into the unknown. The highway stretched ahead, endless and unforgiving. In the rearview, the desert bled into twilight. No ghosts followed. Not anymore. The desert gave way to mountains, their jagged peaks clawing at the sky. Mara drove in silence, her thumb tracing the rim of a stolen gas station coffee cup. We hadn't spoken in hours, the weight of unsaid things thick as the August heat. "Where are we going?" I finally asked. She shrugged. "Away." "Away from what?" "Everything." Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp and knowing. "You don't run unless you're chasing something or running from it. Which is it for you?" I stared at the horizon. "Both." A nameless town in Utah. We bunked in a cabin with a leaking roof and a view of the stars. Mara found a stack of old letters in the drawer, yellowed and brittle. One was addressed to J. Heller, Robert's initials. "Can't keep pretending with Karen. Meet me at the cabin. We'll disappear together. Love always, E." The signature was smudged, but the date was clear, 1987. "Looks like your old man's been playing this game longer than you thought," Mara said, tossing the letter onto the rickety table. I burned it in the fireplace, watching the flames devour the lies. Weeks later, a package arrived at a P.O. box in Colorado. No return address. Inside was a key and a note. "The lakeside cabin. Midnight. K." Mara eyed me as I traced the key's teeth. "You're not seriously considering this?" "I need to know," I said, though I wasn't sure what. The cabin. The cabin hadn't changed. The same pine walls, the same stone fireplace. Karen sat on the porch, a shotgun across her lap. "You shouldn't have come," she said, her voice hollow. "Where's Robert?" "Gone. Took off after the divorce went public. Left me with nothing but his debts and his secrets." She gestured to the gun. "You happy now?" "No," I stepped closer, the key heavy in my hand. "But I'm not sorry." She laughed, a broken sound. Jay killed herself. Did you know that? The world tilted. What? Overdosed in a motel room 3 days after your little exposé. Left a note. Tell her I'm sorry. Karen's eyes were dead. You're a lot like him, you know. Ruthless. You see something you want and you take it, consequences be damned. Don't compare me to him. Why not? You both destroyed everything you touched. She stood, leveling the gun at me. Get off my property. Back in the truck, Mara listened in silence as I recounted Karen's words. When I finished, she pulled over and slapped me. Snap out of it, she hissed. You think guilt's noble? It's just another way to let them win. Jay made her choice. Robert made his. You're still here, alive. Act like it. I touched my stinging cheek, tears spilling. What if she's right? What if I'm just like him? Mara gripped my shoulders. Then burn the parts that remind you of him. But don't you dare stop running. We drove until the road ended at a cliff overlooking the Pacific. Mara built a fire as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of bruised plum and gold. Give me the folder, she said. I hesitated, then handed it over. She tossed it into the flames. What are you doing? Letting you go. She watched the papers curl and blacken. You don't need proof anymore. The truth's in your bones. We stood at the cliff's edge, the wind whipping our hair into frenzies. Mara turned to me, her eyes blazing. Jump with me. What? Jump. If you're really done with them, with all of it, jump. Let the ocean take the rest. I laughed, delirious. You're crazy. Maybe. But I'm free. She stepped off the edge. For a heartbeat, I watched her fall, arms outstretched like a dark angel. Then I followed. The water was colder than I imagined. It swallowed me whole, the darkness absolute. When I surfaced, Mara was gone. I swam to shore, my lungs burning, and collapsed on the sand. Dawn broke, painting the world in gold. In my pocket, a single shard of the mug gleamed. I hurled it into the waves. The road stretched ahead, empty and endless. I walked. The road curved into a sleepy coastal town, its streets lined with salt-bleached cottages. I wandered into a diner, the smell of coffee and fried eggs grounding me. The waitress, a woman with crow's feet and a no-nonsense bun, slid a mug toward me. You look like you've seen ghosts. Something like that, I muttered. She placed a hand on my shoulder. Honey, the past's got claws. But it don't own you. Before I could respond, a man in a suit entered, scanning the room. His eyes locked onto mine. Evelyn Heller? My blood turned to ice. Heller. Robert's last name. The inheritance. The lawyer's office smelled of leather and regret. He slid a file across the desk. Your father's will. He listed you as beneficiary. Stepfather, I corrected. And I don't want his money. It's not money. He opened the folder. Inside was a deed to a storage unit in Utah and a faded photograph of a woman with my eyes. On the back, E. Love, R. 1987. The same E from the letter. He had a complicated history, the lawyer said carefully. The storage unit contains items from his past, including letters from a woman named Elaine. Mara stood at the unit's entrance, her arms crossed. Took you long enough. How did you? I've been waiting. She gestured to the open unit. Boxes lined the walls, along with a dusty trunk labeled E and R. Inside the trunk, love letters, a birth certificate for Elaine Marie Heller, deceased, and a journal. Elaine's words spilled across the pages, a torrid affair with Robert, a pregnancy, a plan to flee. Then, a final entry, he promised we'd leave Karen. But he lied. I'm done running. Beneath the journal lay a photo of Elaine holding a baby. My breath hitched. The child had Mara's storm-gray eyes. You're my sister. The words tasted foreign. Mara nodded. Elaine was our mother. Robert abandoned her when she got pregnant. She died when I was 10, but not before telling me about you. I've spent years tracking him, waiting for the right moment to. She trailed off. To what? To make him pay. But you beat me to it. She smirked. Burning the folder? Brilliant. Pieces fell into place, Mara's knowledge of Robert's patterns, her relentless drive. She'd inserted herself into my life to ensure I shattered the illusion of Robert's perfection. Why not tell me sooner? You needed to choose this path yourself. Guilt would have followed you otherwise. She handed me a letter from the trunk. For Evelyn. When you're ready. Elaine's handwriting curled across the page. My darling girl. If you're reading this, know that I loved you. That I chose to leave Robert to protect you. Mara's father, he's not like him. You'll meet her one day. Together, you'll be unstoppable. Burn the past, but keep the fire it leaves behind. Love always. E. Mara drove us to Elaine's grave, a modest stone in a windswept cemetery. We left roses and a photo of the three of us, Elaine's spirit woven between us. Where to now? Mara asked. I glanced at the horizon, the sky endless and bright. Forward. Karen's voicemail played as we crossed the Canadian border. They found Robert. Suicide note mentioned you. I'm sorry, Evie. For everything. I deleted the message. Mara lit a cigarette, passing it to me. No ghosts, she said. No ghosts, I agreed. The road stretched ahead, unwritten and wild.